Hey everybody, welcome to part 3 in a series of videos for Statecraft. In this game, I'm just going to show you some sample gameplay for a two-player game to give you a rough idea of how the game plays, so you can decide if this is a game for you and your gaming group. Anyways, I have the game set up for a two-player game already, have everything laid out. Again, we're just using the very basic scenario, which is the one for the democracy, which is the very basic scenario that they tell you to learn how to play the game with, so you can understand the game before you start in a lot of the complexities that the other scenarios start imposing upon the game. So there's a very basic scenario where we get 6 supporters and the game's going to come to an end after every single player has taken 8 turns. And the winner of the game is going to be the player who has the most supporters at the end of the game. Now remember, you can poach supporters from the other players, so it's a game that we're going to be pretty much in each other's face for most of the game as we try to take the supporters until the end round comes across. And again, whoever has the most supporters is going to be the winner. So I have everything set up. Every player has their starting faction leader. This faction leader allows you to draw 1 extra card whenever you're drawing cards from the politician's deck, which means this person is going to draw 4 and keep 1. And this player has this special ability that all the politicians in the inner circle, which is going to be the one to the immediate left and the immediate right, also has the ability for specialism to gain. I have to cheat because I always forget what some of these terms are sometimes, but they're going to gain the welfare specialism. So anybody there on their immediate left or the right is also going to add that upon their specialisms. That's it for our setup for all the game. All of our players are ready for the two-player game. We're going to go ahead and start with this player who has their hand of starting cards. We're going to start with this player over here. The very first thing we're going to do with the blue player, where we got the blue player and the green player, and we're going to be referring to him as that so you don't get confused. But the very first thing we're going to do, our very first action we're going to do is we're going to discard this card right here. We're going to put it over here since we can't use it all. And we're going to use that to go ahead and recruit. Now remember, we're doing the democracy, so that means we're going to recruit 3 politicians. We're going to draw 3 politicians, and we're going to see what kind of politician we're going to gain. Now, this was pretty much a wasted maneuver, kind of in a way for us, because our special ability is going to be completely ignored here. These are all 3 of them are junior politicians, so we can take any one of them. It doesn't really matter which one we're going to take. We're going to add that person to our cabinet, to our inner circle. The other 2 politicians are going to be discarded, and they're going to gain the welfare specialism, which is our special power. So he's going to have double welfare, which pretty much means absolutely nothing. So we just know that he's going to be added to our cabinet. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and campaign for a supporter, which does not cost us any cards at all. We're going to take the industrial workers and we're going to add them to our cabinet directly, because their requirement is we can't have anything greater than 6 on the socialism. We can't have anything greater than 4 on authoritarianism, and they don't care anything about free marketplace. They don't care anything about anachronism. So we can ignore that. We'll just add that supporter immediately to our current campaign. And then we have 2 cards left to do. We're going to go ahead and add these 2 cards to our current politicians. Again, trying to make sure we're trying to figure out which one of these supporters we want to add, because we're trying to win the game by having the most supporters at the end of the game, at the end of the 8th round. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this card. We have employee pensions, and then we have state pensions. And we're actually going to take the state pensions part of it, and we're going to go ahead and announce this policy, which is going to change the way our current ideology is going to go. We're going to gain 3 points. And then we're going to gain 1 point, but that's also going to cost us $2 or 2 budget into the deficit, which is a card we can play without any problems. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this card that we can also play in multiple different ways. Now we're actually looking at getting the single parents as a supporter, so we know that we need to add a little bit of green, because they're going to require 6 on the green, and they also require 3 on the over here for the socialism. So if we play this card for the green effect, we're going to go ahead and announce this campaign also. It's not going to cost us any money at all. We're going to add it on top of our politician right here. It really doesn't matter which politician we're adding it to, since we can actually support that directly without any problems. We're going to gain 3 points, and then we're going to gain 1 point, putting us at a total of 2. Our financial status is not going to change at all, and we are completely out of cards. There's nothing left for us to do that we want to do. We're going to draw a hand of 3 brand new cards, and that's going to be the end of the first player's turn. The first thing we're going to do with the green player is we are going to go ahead and discard a card, because we see that we have 3 cards in our hand, and only 1 card is a card we can play because it matches our ideology that we can play. So both these cards are pretty much have no use to us at this point. So we just need to figure out which one of these cards we're going to discard, and again, paying attention to the supporters and knowing that we're about to draw 4 political cards here in just a second anyways. So we're probably going to look at the cards that are going to give us the most benefit, or at least trying to make as many best plans as we can at this point. So we're actually going to discard this card right here, which is going to allow us to draw 4 politicians. Because again, remember our special power that we have. So we get to draw 4 politicians. And remember, we can only take a junior politician because we don't have any junior politicians to sacrifice for a senior politician. So these two politicians are pretty much out of it for us, so we have these two politicians to choose from. So both these politicians are going to offer ideologies we don't currently support, so they're both going to look very good to us. Simply add one politician, the other one goes into the discard pile directly for us, and then we're left with 2 cards left to play. Again, we don't have too many cards to use. We only have the 1 card for our policies that we really can use, so we're simply going to discard this card also. And again, we're going to start getting some more politicians, because you can never have too many politicians in your cabinet in this game, because they're going to give you more things that you're going to campaign for. And we're going to see that we managed to grab 3 senior politicians, so we can't take any of them. We're going to take this politician right here, who's going to join our inner circle also. And then we have this 1 card left over. We can add this and adjust our ideology by go ahead and going out there for this and trying to get the supporters. Oh, we can discard this card and try to get some more politicians on our side. We're going to go ahead and take this card and pay attention to all these people that we're going to be campaigning for. We need to figure out exactly how we want to play this card. I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to go for probably the professionals. And I think that's going to be the best thing we can do with this card. So we're going to take it. We're going to announce this. We're going to lay it down like that. That's going to cost us 2 on the budget, 1 in the yellow, and then 2 on the green. That's the end of that player's turn. We simply draw 3 cards. Our first 2 cards are going to go into our hand. Our third card is going to be an emergency. Now the emergency card is going to be nuclear meltdown, which says that any politicians that have the infrastructure on them are going to be discarded. Now remember, politicians only, not your faction leader. Your faction leader cannot be discarded by this card. So any politicians that have the infrastructure are going to disappear, and they're going to take any policies along with them. So this event card has been triggered. It is finished. That's the only thing that's going to be affected is the green player, not the blue player, luckily. And again, we only have 2 cards in our hand. We do have to draw up to 3 cards. We draw our third card into our hand. That's it for the green player. We now get to go back to the blue player. The blue player, for their start of their turn, they're going to go ahead and they're going to announce a policy. They're going to announce a per unit tax policy, which they're going to add on to the politician. Now we have to be very careful, because we're already at the maximum of 3 policies that this politician can announce. So they cannot announce any more policies. They can only denounce policies. So we're going to go ahead and gain 3 on the scale here. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to adjust 1 on the green, 1 on the blue, and then we have 2 cards left to spend in our hand. Now, neither one of these are policies that we can support because we don't have any infrastructure politicians. So we're going to discard 1 of these, draw 3 politician cards, and we're going to get exactly what we're looking for. We're going to take this junior politician who's going to join our inner circle. These other 2 politicians are going to be discarded, and then we're going to take this card right here, announce this policy, and then we're going to adjust everything after we announce this policy. We're going to go down 2. Yellow is going to go up 1, blue is going to go up 1, and then finally green is going to go up 1. Remember, we're trying to work towards those single parents, and we're almost have all the requirements for these single parents to have them join our political party, allowing us to be even closer to winning the game. Only thing left to do is to draw 3 cards, add them to our hand, and we got a whole bunch of action cards. It's now back to the green player. Now, as a green player, we actually have a couple really cool cards. We have the false accreditation card, which we can use to allow us to play one of our policies into one of their other players' manifesto, which can allow them to mess up their strategies, adjust their ideologies so they're no longer matching for their supporters, causing a lot of problems for them, and also making it easier for us to start stealing some of their supporters if we play these cards very, very well. So we're actually going to hold on to this card for just a little bit, because we want to cause them a lot of problems as quickly as we can, especially since they can still get the chronically unemployed, because they do happen to meet the requirements for that. And that is a supporter that they can take on their turn if they want, but we want to be very careful, so that is a tack that we can do. But we're going to hang on to this action card for now. And the first thing we're going to do is we have 2 of these policies. Now we can use both of these policies if we want, and we could use these policies to work towards supporters, or we could discard them to add more politicians, since we only have 1 politician as part of our cabinet. We know as a green player, though, that we're working towards the professors, or the professions, sorry, because we want to add them. So we're going to announce 2 policies. The first thing we're going to do is the standing army policy. We're going to go ahead and add that, which is going to drop us from 2. We're going to go down 3 spots. And then we're going to gain 3 on the red, putting us all the way at level 3. We're going to gain 3 on the blue, also placing us level 3. The next thing we're going to do is we're also going to announce this policy right here, which is discourage youth military. And that's going to affect our budget by 0. Yellow is going to go up by 2 points. And then green is also going to go up by 1 point. So we're pretty much balanced over here. That would be pretty interesting if we had the campaign card that requires your ideology to be balanced. We'd actually be the closest to winning the game right now. That happened to be the campaign card we happen to be playing for, but it's not. So we have adjusted all of our ideologies right now. So we just need to figure out if there's any cards we want to take. And we're going to see that we can take the chronically unemployed, because as long as our red is not above 4 and our green is at least level 3, we can take that. So these supporters are going to join our campaign. We have 1 card left. We're not going to use it. We're going to end our turn, and we're going to draw our hand back up to 3 cards. And we're going to end up getting 1 more event card. And I forgot one thing. This player should have got the incumbent card immediately once they got these supporters. I forgot to do that earlier. I'll fix that mistake right now, because we do have an event card which is going to require the incumbent card. The scientific event card is not going to be very helpful for both our players in this instance, because both of them are going to allow them to play policies and to play for free, as long as they happen to be a green policy or they happen to be a blue policy, and it'll be free play for each of our players. Unfortunately, neither one of our players have any policies of those colors, and you can see the colors of every one of these policies. Yellow policy, yellow, green policy, yellow, blue, green policy. We can see the color of every one of these policies, so we know that's not going to happen. But the person who currently is the incumbent is going to suffer a penalty, and they need to figure out which penalty they want to do. They can discard 2 cards and draw 1, or they can discard 1 card only. Well, looking at all the cards that this player has, we see that we have tons of action cards. And while these are all great cards, we're going to actually take 2 of these. We're going to discard them, and we're going to draw another card. And we are hoping for a policy card, but we got another action card. That's A-okay for that player. This player doesn't have to do anything because they're not the incumbent and they don't have any policies to play. So this event's going to be discarded. We're going to draw our 3rd card. That's going to be in the green player's turn. We now get to go back to the blue player, who starts their turn with a reduced hand of only 2 cards. The blue player, for their turn, the very first thing they're going to do is they're going to play the card Misinformation Campaign, which allows them to take a policy from another player's manifesto and add it to their hand, which is going to permanently adjust this player's manifesto. So what we need to do, since they lost those cards, we need to adjust their current stats. So they're going to lose 2 from their budget, they're going to lose 2 from the green, and they're going to lose 1 from the yellow. And now we're going to see that this supporter, while they're not going to leave them, is no longer quite happy with this politician, so they're going to be very easy to poach now this time. So this card is going to go directly into our hand. So we're actually then going to discard a card to go ahead and poach this supporter. Since we are currently able to take the supporter, our green is at least 3 points or higher, and our red is not at 4 or above. So we're going to take this supporter. We now have 2 supporters through our campaign. In the 3rd round of the game, we have 1 card left in our hand. We're going to discard that card, try to find another politician, and add them to our cabinet. We have 3 politicians. We're going to take this politician, add them to our cabinet. We're going to discard the other 2 politicians. That's the end of our turn. We're simply going to draw up to 3 cards, have another event which says recession, and it's going to allow us to pick 1 of 2 things. It says play a policy card or discard the manifesto card policy, and also discard another card if we happen to be the incumbent, which we are, so we need to make a decision here really, really quick. So this event card is actually going to hit the blue player pretty hard, because we actually have to take the second thing, which is the brutal cutbacks, and we need to discard a policy card, so we have to discard this one, which is going to take us down on our budget by 3 points. Our blue and our green are both going to go down by 1 point total, and this is going to be discarded. Then we have to discard an additional card, and that event is going to be removed and taken care of. The next event is going to pop up. Oops, before we do that, the other player needs to look at this event card, and they are going to play a policy card. Cannot play a policy card, so they have to also discard a card from the manifesto. So that's going to hit them hard also. So they're going to discard this one, which will take this down by 2. Green's going to go down by 1. They discard that also, so that hits them pretty hard. That was a bad recession for both of our players. Then we have this card right here, which we need to figure out exactly which one of these events both of our players want to take care of. And again, the person with the incumbent card is going to be hit even harder. So this is another event card that's actually going to hit both of our players pretty hard. We need to either take +1 on our budget and to give 1 card to 2 other players. We don't have any cards, so we cannot do that one. So we're going to have to cut 1 from our budget and then discard 2 cards. So we're going to cut 1 from our budget, which hits us pretty hard there. And I'm trying to see if we can actually do the other option there. If we take the +1 budget, give 1 card, which we cannot do, cannot discard. So actually we can do either option here. I'm going to take the +1 on the budget because we can actually do either option with the event card there. And then this player needs to figure out what they're going to do, and they're going to take they're going to do +1 in the budget, and they're going to take one card and give it to the other player. Figure out which one we're going to do. We're going to head over and handle the false accreditation. That's that event card taken care of, and this player still needs to draw their hand up to 3 cards. The blue player now hands a hand of 3 cards again. It's now back over to the to the green player to start the 3rd round. The green player for their turn, since we only have 2 cards in our hand, they have a couple really tough decisions, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to discard 1 card, hopefully gain a decent amount of politicians. We'll draw 4 politician cards thanks to our special ability. We're going to look at all the politicians available and try to grab a politician who's going to help us cover our deficits, things that we don't happen to have very, very well right now. And we're going to see that we don't really have very good coverage on the welfare, so we will take that, discard these 2 politicians, and we have 1 card left. We are actually happy with the card we drew. We're going to go ahead and announce this policy right here, which is going to add 2 to the yellow, 1 to the blue, and then it's not going to affect our amount of our budget at all. That's the end of the turn for the green player. We just need to draw our hand back up to 3 cards. If we have any events, we're going to have to handle them directly. Make sure we fill all of our hand back up to 3 cards after we handle any events, and that's going to be the end of our turn. That's also going to be the end of our sample gameplay video. I think I've given you enough idea from gameplay to give you an idea of this is going to be a game for you and your gaming group. I hope you enjoyed the sample gameplay video for Statecraft. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. You can also stay tuned for my full review of the game where I'll give you my opinions on Statecraft itself. If you enjoyed this video series, click that like button, click that subscribe button. You can also email me at offtheshelfboardgamereviews, otsbgr@gmail.com. As always, thanks for watching.